Hi, so we are back with part 2 of my Where the Hell Have I Been video. So in the first video I spoke about kind of physically what had happened to me. I'm obviously not going to go into masses of detail because it's still a lot for me to deal with, but there are some elephants in the room that I need to discuss, so I'm going to do that. And I'm also going to talk about in this video what I'm left with still to deal with and how my life has changed. I will be doing future videos on my recovery progress, the coma part of it. I will deal with that all in other videos because, as I've said, I think in my last video, I think it's very important this information gets out there, because when I came home I had nothing to deal with, no information particularly, but again, leaving that to bed for now. So where do we start? Do we start with the elephants in the room? So you may have noticed my voice has changed. I'm having a good day today, but I still sound a little gravelly. Some days I don't hardly have a voice at all. I cannot shout, so I can shout a bit, but not particularly loud, not how I used to. And gutting for me, but probably not for anybody else. I can't sing anymore, which, you know, being in the car, belting out a song on the radio, I can't do it. My voice just will not allow me to sing or anything. So why is my voice like this? So in my previous video I mentioned I had a tracheostomy. I didn't have a tracheostomy. I had 3. So the first one they did, tracheostomy tubes are all different shape, not different shapes, but different sizes, different types. And this was all done when I was unconscious. So I've been told, and I have a letter from the hospital about what happened. But through the course of having the tracheostomy, the first one I had, the inner tube was too short, and apparently when they turned me to change the bedding, it came out, caused a massive fuss. I don't remember, I was out of it, and I had to go back on the ventilator. And you can't replace a tracheostomy straight away, you have to let it heal and then redo it. So they had to allow a certain few days, I don't even know how long it was, 4 or 5 days maybe, before they could do a second attempt. The second attempt was successful, but the tube was the wrong size, so they had to whip it out and put in another one. And it was literally like 0.5 ml difference, but apparently that can make a lot of difference. And then I had a longer insert tube. So the tracheostomy is a tube that goes into the throat here through the trachea and allows you to breathe without going through your mouth. It has a cuff that is inflated, so if you eat or drink anything, you can't get it in the wrong tube, because obviously you have 2 tubes, one for food, one for breathing, when you get into your throat. And that's all blocked off whilst you've got the tracheostomy, until they're at a point that they will allow you to eat again, which I wasn't allowed to for quite a while. But the tube, the inner tube, gets blocked, and I'm not going into it, it's disgusting, but you have to get suction through it, because obviously as a normal human, your body will deal with secretions and things like that, and mucus, and when it's a plastic device it doesn't do it. So the length of tubes that they have are slightly different, and I had to have a particularly long one. But what that meant was that it was very, very close to my vocal cords, and every time they tried to get me to speak, so they can get like they talk it a vocal cap, which is like a vent that goes on the outside of the outer tube, and you should be able to force air through it to talk. I couldn't. They tried several times, all it did was make me cough. So there was obviously something internally that wasn't quite right. And although when they did an endoscopic camera to check my vocal cords, they were like, no, there's nothing wrong. And I'm sitting there going, there is. I can tell you there is. Because I can't talk when I've got the tube, and I should be able to do something with this special valve. When they took the tracheostomy out, I could speak, but it was very, very faint, and it took a lot of effort. Apparently that was normal, but I then had to have a second endoscopic camera because within 48 hours my voice hadn't gone back to normal, which it should have done. It was still quite weak. It was like I had a really bad case of laryngitis. And they put in another camera and they went, no, your vocal cords are fine. But they did find that they weren't touching, which meant if your vocal cords aren't touching, they're not vibrating together and they're not producing sound. So there was nothing they could do for that other than give me vocal exercises. And to be honest, it's a voice. As long as people can hear me and the nearest and dearest can hear me, and if I get stuck I use my phone, then it's a voice. It's my voice. It's my new voice. And I'm kind of used to it now, so apologies if it sounds a bit weird for everybody else. But that's my voice. That's what I'm dealing with. The second elephant in the room, my hair. Yes, it's gone baby pink. It's pastel rose. I don't know if I like it. It's still a bit yellowy, but it could be the lighting. It's quite baby pink when I'm in daylight. Where I was led on my back on, as I mentioned in the previous video, a lot of covered plastic. So hospital pillows and hospital bedding is changed on a regular basis, but the pillows are meant to be able to be treated so as they can get rid of any bacteria. And if you actually put your hand under a pillowcase in a hospital pillow, especially in the UK, they're like plastic. I can't even explain it. It's horrible to touch. But because of the plastic and not moving much, where I was out of it for 44 days, and then led on hospital pillows when I woke up, because I wasn't allowed to move around, I couldn't get out of bed. It was very, very hot, and my hair became matted. Now, the care I got from the NHS was amazing. They looked after me. They were brilliant. But one thing they don't really worry about is your hair. So my hair at the time was down here. I was planning to grow it out. It was kind of here when I went in, and it had grown with all the meds and everything I was being given. It had just grown, and it was pretty long. It was kind of down to about here, but it was matted. I remember sitting in the hospital one day with nothing to do, and luckily I still had my nails, and they're not fake, they are real. They're my nails, look, they're mine. I was actually unknotting a dreadlock in the back of my hair. But what it had also done was damage my scalp. So I knew my hair had got thin. I noticed it when I came back to my hometown ICU. I didn't really notice it in London very much. Or did I? Yes, I did, because I scratched my head and a big scab came out, and I thought, well, that feels weird, and I left it alone. But because of everything that was going on, I didn't really register what was happening with my hair. When I got back into Swindon and I was up and about to an extent where I could walk to the shower with somebody, again, I will come into all that kind of stuff in another video. But when I washed my hair, I lost a lot of it, where it hadn't been brushed, where it hadn't been washed particularly. I think it'd been washed twice, once in London, once in Swindon, but the second time I did it. And it was thin. It had grown. I had roots, like, but yeah, I had a lot of scabs in my scalp. When I got home and we looked at it, I'd already said I'm shaving it off. As soon as I get home, I wanted to do it in the hospital because it was annoying me. But I had said to the Griffin, as soon as I get back, I'm shaving it off. And I think it took 48 hours after me getting home to have the energy to sit on the stool while the Griffin shaved my head. And we took it to literally a centimetre all over, buzz cut. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen it. And it was just needed. I had 3 large bald patches that if I touched them, you couldn't even feel like hair growth or anything. There was nothing. The follicles had come out and I wasn't even sure if they would grow back. It's taken 6 months to get my hair back to a decent state. And I know a lot of people go, well, you shouldn't have bleached it. I was bored and fed up with it. And it's fine. If it gets in a bad state again, what's the worst that happened? I'll just shave it off again and regrow it. But the top is great. It feels lovely. The back is a bit coarse, but I'm kind of expecting that. So yeah, that's the hair. The hair has been short for a very, very long time. I have this, and this isn't all 6 months growth because I've been shaving it when I needed to. I've been going to the barbers in town and they've been shaving the back and sides for me while I've grown the top out over the last 4 months. But certainly for the first 3 months of being out of hospital, I've kept it very short. I couldn't cope with it. I didn't have the strength. Again, coming out of a coma is not like it is in a movie. You don't just wake up and get out of bed and run around. You are almost learning again everything. You are very weak, and you are very weak for a long time. I'm still pretty weak, which is why I said in my last video, you know, my videos will be up when they're up. I want to come back into YouTube this year, but I'm not always going to have the strength or the energy. There's days I sleep 15 hours. I'm not fully back at work. I had gone back to work in November, and then I got sick again and ended up back in hospital, so I'm back off work again at the moment. But you know, I'm sleeping until midday, even though I'm going to bed at 10 and 11 o'clock at night. I'm sleeping 12, 13, 14 hours. And sometimes sleeping an afternoon nap as well. I mean, there was a day last week I was hardly awake. So I'm weak. My muscles are weak. I'll talk about that bit in a minute, a bit more. But that's the hair. That's the reasoning behind it. This is just, I needed a change for 23. And like I said, don't even know if I like the colour. It's alright, it'll do. It's meant to be like a rose goldy colour. We'll see. When it fades, I'll do something else with it. But now it's been bleached, I can just play with colours for a couple of months and then probably go back to black. The third thing, probably the biggest change. I've lost a lot of weight. Some of this is intentional. Some of this isn't. So my weight, I'm not going to talk about what my weight was because that's personal, nor what it is at the moment, nor what my ultimate goal is personally. But I will happily, sorry, I keep kicking my tripod, I will tell you how much I've lost. So when I came out of hospital, I had lost about 25, no, more than that. No, about 25 kilos. So whatever that is in pounds and stone, it was about 2.5, nearly 3 stone I think I'd lost. That's UK stone, not US stone, because they're different measurements. So yeah, I'd lost about 3 stone. I am currently, as of today, or as of 30th of December, because my weigh-ins are on a Friday, I am 7 stone 5 pounds, or 102 pounds, or 48.7 kilos down in weight. I have dropped from clothes I was buying that were a UK size 26. The top I'm currently wearing is a UK 18, and I've bought quite a few bits and pieces in a UK 18. So yes, I will be doing a massive clear out. I keep saying I'm going to do a clear out of my clothes. So if any of you are interested, follow me on Instagram. Link is below, new link, because I will let you know on there when things are going up, probably on Vinted, because it's easier. Whether I'll probably only do UK shipping, sorry, because it's a lot at the moment, especially with the UK postal strikes, but that's getting off topic. So my weight loss has been down to the coma, being on a feeding tube, and not eating. I was on a feeding tube for 57 days in total, so eating again was fun. There's also, because of what's happened the first time round and the second time round when I went into hospital, there's certain foods I'm not allowed to eat. So as I said, this did not happen because of my weight, but I'd already started a weight loss journey, which I kind of kept quiet. And I was looking after myself better than I'd done in 2020 and 2021. But what happened to me was not because of my weight, and I'm not being forced to lose weight. This is happening because of my illness, my ongoing illness. So, like I said, I've lost 7 stone 5 pounds, 102 pounds, 48.7 kilos to date. It is a lot to have lost in a short space of time, especially when I'm not consciously dieting. And it is a lot to have lost in a short space of time when I'm not going to the gym, or so my body shape is still similar, very similar to what it was, but my weight isn't. So what they don't tell you, I'm going to do a longer video on this, but being in a coma uses 3 times the amount of calories you would normally use as an active male. So if you say 2,500 calories a day being used as an active male, you're using 6,000, 6,500 calories because of the drugs that are being put through you, what you're going through mentally, which sounds stupid, but that's another video I'll do. Mentally, you don't stop. So that kind of uses energy. You have reactions to things and reflexes that are involuntary. Apparently I was trying to sit up and get out of bed at one point, don't remember. But your body goes through an awful lot. And again, like it's not mentioned in the movies, you don't just wake up and can get out of bed. You wake up with muscle weakness, muscle mass disintegration, which you don't get back. So it's not like when you break a leg and you have a cast on for 6 weeks and your muscles get weak and you can go down the gym or go walk and you will regain that muscle just because the muscle's weakened. The medication they give you actually dissolves muscle, so you don't have it anymore. There's nothing there to rebuild. You can build what you have left. You can't rebuild what you don't have, and you won't gain it back. So I have to build up what I've now got, which from calculations done, we believe is about 16% less body muscle from everything. So 16% of my strength I will never get back, no matter how hard I try. But when you haven't moved and you've been in hospital for so long and you're getting 10 minutes of physio a day, you don't regain it very quickly. So I am a lot better now than I was. I can walk around the downstairs of the house. I still need mobility aids. Again, that's another video I'm going to talk about. But I do tire very quickly. So sitting here and talking is fine. I will edit and then I will probably go to sleep. But yeah, the strength isn't there. There's things I can't do. So with muscle mass loss, weight loss, my body being in overdrive, and they weren't feeding me 6,000 calories a day, they were feeding me the normal amount. So obviously my body was feeding on itself and on its fat cell stores to keep my body going. So I have lost an awful lot of weight. Where that leaves me is to YouTube plus size. I'm still plus size currently. If I drop another dress size, apparently I go into this new mid size. What the hell is that? But yeah, apparently that's a thing now. How things have changed. So where that leaves me with plus size and my viewers, I don't know. I'm still plus size at the moment, and I'm probably going to be plus size in my book for quite a while. I have a goal to reach by the end of 2023, which is I want to lose from where I am another 21 kilos, or about 50, no, I had 52 pounds, so about 50 pounds I've got to lose in weight. But I want to lose in time for my bestie's wedding. But yeah, that's the physical changes. Medically, oh, there's a lot. So because the pancreatitis has... Okay, I'm going to have to explain this in the easiest terms I can, because what I have is so rare, and what I'm left with is so rare. A lot of people know nothing about it, and they hear about it, and then they go and Google it, and they're like, no, that's not right, what you've got is this. I'm on a Facebook group for one of my conditions, and I have researched and researched and researched, and I've been in touch with charities, and I've been in touch with medical professionals, and I've got some amazing medical professionals. I'm currently my lead consultant in my hometown confers with a GI professor at the John Radcliffe in Oxford, because they are the only person that's ever seen what I've got and dealt with it. So, you know, it's kind of, there are similar things out there, but they are not what I have. And before I get into it, this is going to sound a bit rude, but if you have something similar, please don't come and tell me how to manage my condition. Because although there are similarities, and similarities in drugs that I have to take and medications I have to take, I do not have the common versions. So I will explain all, but I've already had 2 people try to tell me that what I'm doing is wrong, that my medications are wrong, and they're not. I am under specialists that are the top in the country who are managing my medication. And I'm not going to argue with somebody who's got as many degrees as the professor at John Radcliffe who lectures on this and teaches this. I'm not going to argue with them to listen to somebody who's on a keyboard on Facebook or on Instagram going, well, what you need to do is... No, sorry, I'm not interested. However, if you are somebody who has what I have, please get in touch, because there's not many of us. So what am I left with? So the pancreas is a very complex organ. It has two major functions. It obviously produces insulin, and it produces enzymes to digest our food. It also produces what we term islet cells. Now, the simplest way to describe what I'm left with is if a excuse me, stage 4 pancreatic cancer patient survived, they would live with what I have. Now we know pancreatic cancer is a major killer, and it's such a delicate organ sorry, that survival rates are very, very low. And I think it is one of the biggest cancer killers in the UK. But if they survived, they would live with what I'm now left with, which is what they term negligible production. So the obvious one is I don't produce insulin, which makes me a diabetic. Now, again, not related to my weight. This has been because I had regular checkups and blood tests, and I was never even pre-diabetic. My diabetes is a rare type, so you've probably all heard of type 1 and type 2, and gestational, so pregnancy diabetes, but there are actually 7 or 8 different types, and some of them so rare no one's heard of them. So there are 2 under the class that I have, which is type 3. Type 3 is, or type 3 on its own, is suffered by Alzheimer patients, and it is suffered when the brain becomes towards the end of their life, where the brain just stops telling the organs to do their job. It stops, the pancreas stops producing insulin, and that's called Alzheimer's related diabetes, or type 3. What I have is type 3C. Now, I have only discovered this through research, because when they kept telling me in the hospital, you've got type 3, it's rare. I'm like, but when I came back and looked at it to understand it, because they wouldn't tell me anything particularly, it was all very much, everything I looked at was Alzheimer's related, which I don't have. Yes, I'm forgetful, but I don't have Alzheimer's. So it was only through weeks and weeks and weeks of extensive Googling that I found out actually I have type 3C. And type 3C can only be caused by pancreatic damage or injury, where the pancreas stops producing anything. And when I say stops producing anything, not just insulin, but enzymes and islet cells as well. Now, my body is still getting islet cells because they are produced by the liver as well. But I don't produce enzymes, which changes the way I eat, which again causes weight loss. So obviously, being diabetic, I have to take insulin. I am also on a drug called metformin. And how I do my insulin is different from every other diabetic I know, and every other diabetic that I've spoken to, whether they have this form or not. So my insulin is a long-lasting insulin that lasts 12 hours. So I take it at 8 AM and 8 PM, and I do not have to inject for meals. I don't have to, obviously I have to watch my sugar intake and my carb intake, but I don't have to inject against that per meal. And I'm kind of glad because when it hurts, it gets... Sorry, the voice is going. It gets to a point where you've injected yourself so many times, you've got bruises, and you heal not as quickly with taking insulin. So being diabetic, you heal a bit slower. I heal very slowly now, which I will go into again later on, because by the time this video goes out, it will have been done. But tomorrow I've got a scan and I have to have another cannula put in. Don't even want to think about it or discuss it because I just can't. I will tell you in another video when I can deal with that. But yeah, so insulin injections twice a day. They are easy to do, but having been back in hospital again recently where I've got bruises from the blood clotting, thinners that they give you and all that sort of stuff, my stomach's sore. And I know I can inject in other places, but I don't have the strength or mobility currently to do that. What it also means for life is I have these, which are horrible tablets. They are quite big, and I'm being very careful not to show you the label, but they are something called PERT, P-E-R-T, which is pancreatic enzyme replacement therapy, and the drug itself in the UK is known as Creon. It is a high dose. A lot of elderly patients or elderly people who start not being able to digest food for GI issues may take Creon to help with their food. So when I was in the hospital, there was a lot of elderly patients on Creon, but the volume per tablet that they took was quite low, and it was taken like a normal medication in the morning or at night, and it was a set amount that they had to take. I have to judge my meal, to judge what I need to take, and I have to take it with every meal. So if I'm going out for a 2-course meal or 3 courses like I went out for on Boxing Day, then I have to take some before I eat my starter, before I eat my main, and before I have dessert if I have one. And what's contained in that food, depending on fat content, on carb content, whether it's got fruit in it or not, I have to judge how much enzymes I have to have in my stomach to be able to digest food. If I do not take it, I will still digest food, but I will not get any nutrition from it, so I won't absorb vitamins, minerals that I need to stay alive, and I would essentially starve to death if I stopped taking it. So they're a lifeline. They really are. This has changed my life. I have to be so organised, which luckily I am. But I will show you my new best friend because he's down here. Oh, he's a little heavy, but this is my new best friend. This is Jeff, and he has to be at my side 24/7. If I go upstairs to sleep, he has to come with me. If I go out, he's in the bag on the back of my wheelchair. If I go shopping, if I go out in the van and I'm just with the Griffin, it's on the floor by his feet in while I'm driving. It has to stay with me, and it looks a bit like that. And it's a bit awkward for me to hold up, but in here I hold all my discharge and information from my first hospital visit and my second. I have my insulin pens, current one. I have my blood test kit and my current using quick access disposable needles for my insulin. I have my daily pills that are all worked out morning and night and filled up once a week. I have emergency sugar tablets. I have spare needles. I have a lot in here. I have a sharps bin. I have vitamins. I have a supply of all my drugs. I have a pot of bio oil for my scarring. I have paracetamol, and I have the actual crayon spares. So the idea of this bag is like what happened in November when I had to go back into hospital again. I have everything here, so I can do my own meds daily when the nurses are busy. They were fine with it before anyone asks. I can do everything I need in here for 2 weeks before I need more meds. And I have a ritual on a Friday. Let me just pop this down. I have a ritual on a Friday where I finish my meds and I sit and refill everything, and then I go from my hoard, my stash, and then I refill my bag. My bag is called Jeff. The reason he's called Jeff is because I don't know a Jeff, and it's easy to say, it's one syllable, it's quick, and I don't work with a Jeff. I don't know a Jeff in my personal life, so we've called it that. So as if anything happened when I was at work, because I have been in the office, or if I'm out with my best friend, it's I need Jeff. They know exactly what I'm talking about, or I just say Jeff. They know what I'm talking about, and they will get my med bag for me. It's also there, so as like I said, if I go into hospital again, I've got everything in one place. Some of the drugs I'm on have names this big that I can't remember or pronounce, and it's just, they're ready. So I'm on insulin and metformin, which I've discussed. I'm also on 3 types of blood pressure medication. I didn't have high blood pressure until all this happened, but in the hospital my blood pressure was sky high. I had what they also term hypertensive tachycardia, which meant my heart rate was about 130, even just sat doing nothing. That has since sorted itself out since I've been out of the stressful environment of being in hospital. It's fine. But yeah, that's kind of where I am. So I have a rare form of diabetes that I need to manage for the rest of my life. I have enzyme replacement therapy that I need for the rest of my life. I have blood pressure medication, which I'm hoping I won't have to take for the rest of my life, but we'll see. And I have mobility aids to deal with my recovery. And it's a lot. I'm not going to lie, it's been a lot to get used to. My body now wakes me up because my meds were given to me at 8 and 8. I've stuck with that. And I even found in the hospital I was waking up at 7:55. If I'm at home, 7:55, I will wake up even before my alarms go off. I will wake up to do my meds. In fact, I think maybe only 3 or 4 times since I came out of hospital the first time, I've had to have my watch wake me up to take my meds or remind me to take my meds. So I've got used to it very quickly. At the moment, due to my second hospitalisation, I have to be even more cautious on what I eat, but I'm not going to talk about that yet. But that's due to the fact that I've got surgery upcoming, this scan tomorrow, which hopefully has gotten rid of it's going to tell me that the cyst gone through the procedure I had last time, which I'm not talking about in this video. And yeah, I'm hoping that, I don't know what I'm hoping really. I'm dealing with it. I'm managing. You know, it's one thing you just get used to and get on with. I'm not brave, I'm not, and I don't want to be called brave, I'm not an inspiration. I'm basically keeping my body alive. And if I can, during this journey, which is going to be however long, I may never be able to go on long days out without taking my wheelchair. I may always need at least one crutch for balance if I'm out of the house. I may always need a crutch to go upstairs because I need the balance on both sides and we've only got one banister. But I will get better, I will regain strength, I'll be able to walk longer distances. At the moment we're just getting me through where I am now, where I've been, get me through my surgery and my recovery from that, and then I can start concentrating on everything else. So I'm going to leave it there for now, or I'm going to waffle for an hour. I hope, if you have made it this far, you know, drop some love below, let me know in the comments. If you've got any questions, because like I said, what I have is rare, ask me. As I said in my last video, I may not be up for long waffly responses, but what I will do is put them into a Q&A video or try and answer them in another video, because there's going to be a number in this. There's a lot to talk about. If you are a type 3C person, please get in touch with me, because I've joined a Facebook group, and I'm not going to call them out, but there's people on there that come up with some information. I'm like, I don't want to tell you you're wrong, but you're wrong, and I could show you why you're wrong. And I have people who have said, oh, so I'm type 1, you're like me, that's how you should treat it. And then find, but it's not. My case is very, very different. So statistically, if you took the worldwide diabetics figure, whatever that is, 90% of them would be type 2, which is the type you're not born with, that you get through life for whatever reason. And I will dispel the myth now. It is not caused by the amount of sugar you eat. If you believe that diabetes is caused by the amount of sugar you eat, go and research it, because it's not. So yeah, 90% are type 2. They inject for meals. They probably are only on an injection. They may be on tablets, they may not. 5% are type 1, so they are born with it, so it's a pancreatic defect. But they all produce insulin. They don't produce enough, and they don't produce it consistently. Gestational diabetes at any one time makes up 3%. So those are pregnant ladies who are suffering because they are pregnant and they gave birth, and shortly after their body goes back to normal. It's just a pregnancy complication. So we're now up to 98%. The last 2%, so if you're looking at UK statistics, about 200 people in the country, that's UK, so England, Ireland, Scotland, Northern Ireland, about 200 people make up the other types of diabetes. Some will be Alzheimer's. In fact, up 1% will probably be Alzheimer's related. 0.5% will probably be pancreatic cancer related. And the other 0.5% makes up everything else. And that's where I sit. So my diabetic nurse, where I am, has said that in the town I live in, where there's probably 250,000, 350,000 people, I'm probably the only person with what I have, to the point where I'm having to explain it every time I go to a different medical professional. Every time I go into the hospital to a different ward or a different person, I have to explain it. And it's draining, but it's because it's not widely known. I've also had a medical professional tell me it doesn't exist, and I've had to get it out and prove her it does. And there's not many people that understand it. I am extremely lucky that I have a diabetic nurse at my practice that understands it, and I have a diabetic specialist doctor who looks after my medication at the hospital who understands it, and they say I'm doing great. My recent blood tests came back in pre-diabetic levels, which is amazing considering everything I've been through. I should be very much into the diabetic range, and I'm not, which means I'm managing it perfectly and my meds are perfect. The only thing that may change in the future is my meds coming down if my pancreas decides at some point to start doing its job again. We'll see. But yeah, that's kind of where I am. I'm in mobility recovery. I am currently registered as disabled. I have a blue badge. There are adaptations being made at work for me for when I'm ready to go back into the office more often. And yeah, that's where I am. So I hope I've covered it in enough detail. Sorry if it's been a bit of a waffle, I didn't intend it to be. Like I said, I will be doing more videos on my recovery, where I am, my mobility. That's when I need to talk about my coma experiences, my ICU experiences, what it's been like since I've been out. There's loads to cover. I'll also be doing a video with the Griffin because I think it's important for him to talk about what he went through and how he dealt with me being there and suddenly not being there for months, and you know, suddenly not having that person that he lives with 24/7 around. And some of it was very scary, which again, I'm not ready to talk about. I've been left with PTSD, which I still have flashbacks, I still have, look, I'm even welling up now. But I'm not ready to talk about that. So that's another part of my recovery I need to deal with. But I am going now. I keep saying I'm going to go now. Like I say, if you've got any questions, please drop them down. Just remember, I'm not going to be able to respond to everything. And again, please don't try and tell me that I'm not dealing with my conditions correctly or doing the right things or what I should be doing, because the only people I'm going to listen to are my medical professionals. Mainly because I've seen so much misinformation, bad information in the group that I'm on or following on Facebook, where they're saying, oh, just tell them you've got this. Well, no, you haven't got that, so don't tell them that. It's, again, time for, that'll come under another video, I'm sure. But I'm going to go away and leave you alone. Sorry this has been a bit long. I will hopefully be back with another one, maybe 2 next week. I will see how I feel. But I'll talk to you more about the mobility side of things maybe next time. And yeah, it's not all going to be doom and gloom. There are some really good bits that have come out of this. So yeah, I will see you all again very soon.